Are we on? This is just me making a YouTube.
Oh, okay. Somebody said they wanted me to talk about the history of this place.
Well, of course, almost 1922, almost 100 years ago, Parker Gates founded Gates Radio on the Mississippi River, north of St. Louis and Quincy.
Yes.
And it's sort of still there, right?
Yes. That's where our primary manufacturing facility is.
Right.
And it's actually the largest broadcast radio transmitter manufacturing facility in the world.
Right, and one of the few survivors of after looking at Axera and Larkin and all things that were big names just a few years ago, and poof. Anyway, and then of course in 1960 there was Harris Intertype, and that became a huge military-industrial complex. And then last year we all came to NAB. And pow, it was Gates Air, and Imagine, and
Well, maybe I could explain a little bit about the history of how that all happened. Okay, so Gates Radio, it started out as a audio public address system company way back when, and then in the early days of AM, they got involved in AM broadcast transmitters. Later, when the FM band, when the FM band moved to the 87, the 108 megahertz range, they got into the FM transmitter business, and then later they got into the television transmitter business. And in fact, when Gates got into the television transmitter business, they had some really innovative technology. They were the first manufacturer in North America to go to IF modulation instead of high-level modulation. That's what RCA, who was the dominant player, was using at that time.
Plate transformer.
Yeah, right. And so now the part of the history about Gates and Harris. Okay, so Harris Intertype is a company that goes back over 100 years.
Printing presses.
Right. The Harris brothers in Cleveland developed some of the first high-speed printing press technology, and from that evolved a company that sold printing presses to all types of users, including local or regional publishers, newspapers. And those newspapers in small to medium, even some large markets, were some of the first people to build radio stations and then later TV stations. They were common ownership media outlets in these towns, okay? And so Harris Intertype already having a marketing and sales channel to those companies that were newspaper companies, saw the opportunity to get into electronic media, and that's when they purchased Gates. Radio, and then television. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of a little bit of the story about how Harris Intertype got involved in the electronic media business with the acquisition of Gates Radio back in the late 60s. Okay? Then that evolved, flash forward to a couple of years ago, Harris Corporation, they later moved their corporate offices and their leadership to Melbourne, Florida, when they got involved in the space program and more involved in the semiconductors, defense electronics. So the headquarters moved to Melbourne, Florida, and that would have been sometime in the 70s, I'm guessing. I don't know the exact date.
Become a part of the gigantic military-industrial complex.
Yeah, right. So they expanded into, it's not just defense electronics. They do things like the Federal Aviation Administration's network. They had a computer company, and they do antennas and that sort of thing. So through the evolution of Harris Corporation, and it's a publicly traded company, there was a decision made after the DTV build-out was over and the growth rate on broadcast started to flatten, that they wanted to focus on their core defense and government non-broadcast related businesses.
Right.
Okay, so and during that period of time, I guess I didn't tell you the part about the acquisition of digital media company, Leach.
Yes, right.
Okay, yes, and a number of other software companies that do back office software, scheduling, programming, program automation. So they had this broadcast division that had not only a transmission side to it, but it had all the media creation, media content management, and so forth. So they sold those businesses to the Gores Group, and the Gores Group is a private capital investment company that actually has a pretty good track record in the companies that they've acquired and grown, and then eventually spin out. One example is Lineage Power Supplies, which we use, not because there was anything to do with the Gores Group, but they were the leader in switching power supplies, and that was one of the Gores Group companies. So anyway, then the Gores Group has subdivided into Imagine Communications, which is over in the North Hall. There, you may hold that. So, yeah, there you go. Imagine Communications, and they're the company that does all of the digital media creation and management type of work, and we at Gates Air are focused on the transmission side. So that's radio and AM, FM, and television transmitters for all the world standards, modulation standards. So in television, I think we support about a dozen different modulation standards for digital television. In radio, we support, of course, FM and HD radio. We also support some of the other DAB and DRM digital radio standards as well. Yeah, Digital Radio Mondial, right. And we also have audio transport products for transporting media from studio to transmitter or between studios. Intraplex.
Right.
And then we have what was originally Pacific Recorders and Engineering. Jack Williams Company, right?
From Carlsbad, California.
Yeah.
Is there still an office?
Yes, we still have a design center in Carlsbad, California, and that's where all of our Vista digital audio products are designed and made. So.
Well, that's history, and that
So
brings
that gives
us
you
here
a little bit, yeah.
to NAB 2015. And here in the booth, I see television, future of television, and radio, but I don't see any AM in the radio. What's the AM?
Well,
support
we still build AM transmitters,
Really?
and we build actually we build the only complete digitally synthesized AM transmitter. That technology is called DX.
Right.
And DX, there is no modulator, high-level modulator, like there would be in a plate modulated transmitter or in a pulse width modulated solid-state transmitter. The DX technology actually uses an array of RF amplifier modules that are turned on and turned off through digital encoding to directly synthesize the AM waveform. So you can think of the output of a DX transmitter as being very much like a high-level digital to analog, RF digital to analog converter.
Right.
That's a really successful technology, not only in terms of efficiency and modulation linearity, but it also lends itself very well to digital AM broadcasting because we can directly synthesize the digital waveform, whether it's AM or COFDM or another waveform, in the output of the transmitter at very high efficiency.
For that digital radio
right.
mondial.
So the only reason we don't have the transmitter here is we're limited on booth space.
Yeah.
We had some new things. We have a new liquid-cooled FM transmitter that we're showing here, and
What's that
the
called?
AM transmitters are quite large, so we just didn't bring them.
AM transmitters are offered from what, 100 watts to 200,000 watts?
2 megawatts.
2 megawatts?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have quite a number of transmitters, AM transmitters, medium wave, on the air that are over 1 million watts of carrier power and can modulate to 150% positive peak. So you're talking, more than 4 times that. So a 2 megawatt transmitter would have a peak envelope power output of something over 8 megawatts.
And a common point current, it's quite high. Yeah.
Right. So we're still very much in that business.
Okay, people had asked me, where's the AM at Gates Air? And I just wanted to make sure it was there.
No, we're still, and we go down to, actually, I think the smallest transmitter we make is about 1 kilowatt.
Okay.
1 kW at AM, yeah.
Uh-huh. Is it still remember the Gates 5? They brought back the Gates name when it was still Harris?
Well, Harris and Harris Intertype always maintain
Right.
the rights to the Gates trademark.
Right.
And in fact, we had a number of lines of transmitters along the way. In the AM, we had the Gates line of AM transmitters back a few years.
Right.
And so we were really delighted when the Gores Group, the new owners of the company, were looking for a new brand other than Harris.
Right.
And so we were really, and a lot of things I'm sure were kicked around, but we were really delighted when we got back to our roots with the Gates Air brand. So it ties it in to the history of Gates Radio and the on-air.
Here's
thing.
Tim Laud from Zenith, and he's demonstrating the ATSC 3.0, right?
Yes, yeah. So anyway, just to finish up on the radio side, so one of the big things we have here this year that we got a Best of Show award for is a liquid-cooled solid-state FM transmitter.
And power levels for
from 5 kilowatts to 90 kilowatts.
90 kilowatts.
Yeah, and the one that we have on display over there is a single rack, and it is 10 kilowatts.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could walk over, take a picture, but yeah. So what's the big idea there? It's all about total cost of ownership, reducing energy consumption, reducing carbon footprint, higher efficiency. Okay, so by taking a transmitter and liquid cooling it, we can transport the waste heat, whatever inefficiency there is in the transmitter, out to the environment through liquid, as opposed to using air conditioning and Freon and all that. So the cost of air conditioning, the equipment, the cost of the energy to run it, cost of all the duct work, the issues with Freon, all of those things are eliminated by going to a simple liquid cooling system. And it's very easy to do with solid state because the transmitter amplifiers, all those components are grounded. They're DC ground potential, so there's no high voltage involved. We don't have to use any special distilled water. We can use tap water.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to have Daltherm ethylene glycol?
Well, if you're in a freezing environment, you could you'd use an antifreeze, but you can use a environmentally friendly antifreeze like polypropylene propylene glycol, the pink stuff you put in your RV business, right? Yeah, exactly. So that's a big deal. A lot of enthusiasm about that product this year. We have a number of customers that really want this because they've made a commitment to reduce their carbon footprint, and it's very easy to put on a new, like the new World Trade Center, a building like that where they have a cooling loop already built into the building for heating and air conditioning. They can simply transport that heat load into that system, and they don't have to have any extra heat exchangers. Are there Harris
transmitters there now yet?
Not on the new. There's no transmitters on the new World Trade Center yet, but there will be. Well, the facility's not done yet, but we have a lot of other transmitters in the New York market on Empire and Times Square. Yeah, right. So anyway, so that's a little bit about the radio story. I guess the only other one new thing we have our FM transmitter line now has extended frequency range. We can go down to 75 megahertz. There's a number of countries that have new FM bands or existing FM bands that go further down in frequency from the US FM band.
Well, Japan only started down there.
Brazil is another example. Okay, and of course there's still some talk from time to time about a new radio band below the FM band in channel 5 and channel 6, was TV spectrum.
Well, right now 87.75 everywhere you go. There's going to be a low power TV.
Well, yeah, you have the Franken FMs. Yeah, but there's also discussion about an extended band that goes down to 75 megahertz.
Some convoluted thing.
Anyway,
what kind of semiconductors in the new pallets? Are those NXPs?
Those particular ones are Freescale. Of course, Freescale and NXP are merging.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a similar technology. They both make a high power LDMOS, lateral diffused MOS transistors. So those devices are good for about a kilowatt per device. Very high efficiency, very rugged. We've had very good success with them. So.
It's been a long time since the MX-15 exciter stereo generator back in the 70s, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That was your baby, I remember.
MS-15.
MS-15,
yeah. MX-15 was the sequel to it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was 1976, something like that?
Yes, that's about the right time.
Just getting a little more history in there.
Yeah. So.
And this is Geoff. Who did that?
Yeah, I'm Geoff Mendenhall,
Right.
and been with Gates Air for over 25 years. So
Exactly.
yeah. So
Hey.
okay. So do you want to talk to Tim Loud about
No,
ATSC?
we've talked to Tim before.
Okay.
Unless he really
Yeah.
insists on getting
Yeah.
on.
Okay. You got any other questions?
That's it.
So
That's
where's
more
this?
than-
Where's this going to be on
It
YouTube?
goes on Ed Nixon's YouTube, and it'll be seen.